Well, good day, viewers. Today we have a 2012 F150 4x4 crew cab. It's here because it has a history of the battery going dead. Customer dropped it off some time ago and left the battery cable disconnected here because they said the battery goes dead. So I'm going to take this opportunity to put a disconnect switch in it and set it up to do a parasitic draw test. So I put my disconnect switch on the negative side and I've reinstalled the battery cable. And when I turn the disconnect switch on, I heard a relay energize in here. It's like the ignition key is on. See, the interior light is on. Well, the key is not in the ignition, but it's not normal for a bunch of mode door actuators to come on. Well, let's see what kind of current draw we got. So we got the ammeter set up to graph current. I'm waiting for the interior lights to go out before I turn. That shouldn't exceed 10 amps anyways. Let's turn the switch on. Well, focus. It's negative because I got the leads backwards. 3.6 amps. So it's around 3.5 amps. It just went up. Now it's coming back down again. 3.85 amps. Okay, we're going to let it sit here for a few minutes. It's 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. We'll see what happens in 15-20 minutes. So I'm still waiting here, but I can see one relay in the fuse panel here is warm. Let's see which one that is. So that's the fifth relay over from the left. There's no relay in the first spot here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's number 5 relay. So while I'm waiting for this thing to 3.6 amps keeps jumping back up though. If it had a rear wiper, I'd say the rear wiper was trying to park or something. Unless I got a bad connection here. Seems like I might have a bad connection. Well, I pulled that relay out and it didn't make any difference. It's not being energized, but 3.65 amps is about what it takes to turn on a electromagnetic clutch coil. Why isn't this focusing? Sorry for the poor lighting. I'm outside here. I get the glare from the sky. Anyways, it's been about 8 minutes and it hasn't gone to sleep yet, but it shouldn't be 3.65 amps. Something is on. Well, it's been, let's see, what time is it? 6:15, 6:14, and it's dropped to 80 milliamps. Let's try changing the resolution. $43 milliamps, 44 milliamps. 44 milliamps is a little high, but it won't kill the battery in a few hours like they were saying. 14 minutes to drop to 44 milliamps. I did test these fuses, these mini fuses, with a voltmeter to see if there was a voltage drop across any of them, and there wasn't. Now all these J fuses here, you can't really test them for a voltage drop because they got caps on them. I don't know why that relay was warm. Well, there's a left rear door ajar message on the dash. She mentioned that. I think the door actuator has been changed, but it's my experience it's usually the broken wires. I wonder if that could be keeping the BCM from going to sleep. It's only about 45 milliamps draw, but it could cause a problem just the same. Well, normally where they break is right here at the door. Now this was pulled off, the boot was pulled out, the wiring harness was just hanging here. So somebody's been looking in here. Don't see any broken wires, but I think we leave that door disconnected. It shouldn't indicate the door is ajar. Left for a door ajar. Isn't that special? Well, I think that's a normally open switch and closes with the door open. Well, I'm going to investigate this problem. So we're back working on this F150. I'm going to recheck parasitic draw over a few minutes. We've got the graph set up for 30 seconds at 10 amps. I got the disconnect switch on now. Now I'm going to turn the disconnect switch off, which instantly puts the current through the ammeter. I've got the left rear door harness unplugged. So we're seeing about 4.5 amps. Just dropped down to 4 amps. Dropped down to 3.75 amps. And it's roughly 4:09 p.m. So we're going to let this sit like this. Got to go in and change. And then we're going to come back out and see what's happened over a period of time. So I see the interior light is staying on. And that's because probably the door ajar message for the left rear door, yet I've got the harness unplugged. So I think there's a wiring problem. Mind you, it's only been a few minutes and it should shut that off after 15 minutes anyways. 3.62 amps is the amount of current it's taken to run that interior light. So after the interior light turns off, it drops to roughly 0.06 amps, which is 60 milliamps. I'm going to pause this. Let's see. I'm rewinding the recording. This buffer looks like 100. There's 79. So from when I started it, right there, 100 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. About 15 minutes. Well, let's change the resolution to 500 milliamps or 200 milliamps. So it's 54 milliamps, which is above the recommended tolerance, but it's not terrible. So we're going to investigate why that door ajar message is on. It shouldn't be. Shopstream client update. Well, remind me later. Okay, we're going to do a network code scan. We're going to start this vehicle, or start this diagnostics with a network scan, although there's probably a bunch of fault codes related to the low battery voltage. But I'll get the VIN number. Got 125,000 kilometers on it. That's in kilometers. We'll do a network code scan and see what codes, if anything, it has to offer. Key is on, engine is not running. Cooling fan control circuit problem. Invalid data received from the BCM. Fan control circuit pending. Valid data received from the BCM. Left side airbag deployment control circuit open, not current. Right side airbag deployment control circuit open, not current. Driver seat belt sensor. Passenger seat belt sensor. Driver seat track. Lost communication with restraints control module. Lost communication with body. Battery voltage below limits. Battery voltage below limits. Lost communication with body. Restraints. Invalid data from compass module. Vehicle battery circuit voltage low. Wiper motor module bus signal message failure. Battery voltage circuit low. Brake fluid level switch general fault. Run start control circuit short to ground or open. Fuel pump primary circuit. PATS key missing message. Lost communication with steering column. Lost communication with battery monitor. Battery voltage low. Brake fluid level. Run start relay. Fuel pump relay. PATS key missing. More U codes. More U codes. More U codes. Well, we got a record of all these codes. We're going to do a network code clear. Clear all codes read by code scan. Scan key on, engine off. Now the door switch is an input to the BCM, if I remember correctly. I've worked on these before. Like I said, 9 times out of 10 that jar message is caused by a broken wire in the driver's door, or between the B pillar and the door. Okay, let's go into the body control module, see if we have any codes. Let's do a key on, engine off self-test. Doors are closed. Continue. The horn might blow. Wipers might wipe. Windshield washer might wash. Okay, driver's door jar switch general failure. Really? But it said left rear door. Driver's side rear door ajar switch general failure. Well, I've got it unplugged. Hood switch, I got the hood open. Reverse lamp circuit short to battery, so I may have a backup light out. Alright. I don't have the driver's door open. Let's look at some data. Body data, lamp and lighting data. It might be in that one, it might be in body data. Vehicle may not support all PIDs. Thank you, Snap-on. Okay, driver's door says ajar. Interesting. Left rear door says ajar. Well, that's the one I have unplugged, and it should not say ajar. Passenger door closed, right rear door closed. So it's a message on the dash that says left rear door ajar, but maybe it's the left front door, driver's door. I'm going to plug in the left rear door harness. So I plugged in the left rear door harness, and as you can see, the left rear door still says ajar. Wonder what the left front door does when we open it. I'm going to open the left front door. Well, on the dash it says driver's door ajar, and it says left rear door ajar. When I close the driver's door, it continues to say left rear door ajar. Well, let's pull up a schematic and have a look. Oh, now look at that. Driver's door says closed now. But the door was closed and it was saying ajar. Let's watch that again. Door open. Door closed. Door open. closed. Door open, door closed. I wonder if there's a physical break in that wire too. Okay, well, let's investigate the passenger rear door, left rear door, because with the harness unplugged, it shouldn't say it's ajar, it should say closed, I believe. So here's a picture of the left rear door ajar switch circuit from the BCM. It is a pull down circuit to ground. The switch simply grounds the wire. Now the switch is drawn open, so I would take that to mean it closes with the door open. So an open circuit, disconnected wire, should not be setting this code. It would have to be a short to ground on this circuit. But I have seen where they've drawn this switch incorrectly. And of course all it says is ajar or closed. And that's the computer's interpretation. It doesn't say low voltage or high voltage. So connector C715 is at the driver's door B pillar. And it's pin 2, a green wire. No, that's C715 is inside the door at the latch. This is C237 at the B pillar. So it's pin 2, green wire. We're going to check that wire for a voltage. So I've got a pin in pin 2, which is the green wire. Be careful not to use too fat a pin, like 24 thou. And connected to the battery negative post for a ground. And I'm reading 11.2 volts. So what I'm going to try doing is grounding this wire and see what the scan tool shows. Because to me, that switch is normally open. Is it open with the door closed and closes with the door open? If that's the case, then it should read close now when I jumper this to ground. So I've grounded the driver's door switch, or the left rear door circuit. Let's see if we still have the message on the dash. No more message on the dash. Let's see if it's on the scan tool. So we're going back into the scan data. Left rear door closed. So that switch is actually drawn correctly. It has to ground to indicate that the door is closed. So it is drawn correctly this time. Let's disconnect the ground. Disconnected now. And of course the interior lights just came on. So I'm wondering if the wire is in fact broken in that harness and you can't see it. So I'm going to look closer at it. So while I'm testing this circuit, I'm going to ground this wire to the battery negative post. That will simulate closing the door. The interior light should go off. And then I'm going to investigate this harness closer. In the meantime, I'm going to check for a parasitic draw too. So this is taped up inside here. I've changed a few of these harnesses. They've got a reinforcement in here. We're concerned about this green wire here. I pulled on it and it doesn't pull out, but it's taped up. I'm going to get some seam ripper. So a seam ripper works really good for cutting this tape without theoretically cutting any of the wires in there. I used to joke, say Snap-on should make a seam ripper. Well, that wire is cracked. They put a piece of reinforcement plastic in this. You can see this plastic rod. This wire is definitely cracked, but it's not broken. At least not there. Oh, there we go. It's broken up here. So the easiest way to fix this is to replace this entire door harness. If I'm not mistaken, Ford has them in stock. Imagine that. I'm going to check now with the door jamb switch closed, grounded. The parasitic draw should be gone. So now with the door jamb switch tripped as if it's closed, with the circuit grounded, we're seeing a parasitic draw of around 2.3 amps, but we need to give it time for the BCM to go to sleep. So it's 5:29, pick up in a few minutes. So as you can see, we still have over 2 amps of draw, and it seems to be cycling on and off now. I'm not sure if it's because I didn't start the vehicle and run it, but let's see what I've done here. I saved one of these old wiring harnesses out of a door like this, and because I saved it, I had, you can see this one here, there's a whole bunch of broken wires in here. That green wire is the wire in question. So there was one wire in this harness that wasn't broken, and I salvaged it, and I replaced just that green wire and spliced it inside the door and ran it in here. That white wire with the green tracer is now the green wire. So I'm going to plug this door back in and reset everything, clear all the codes out of everything, and recheck the parasitic draw. So I've reconnected the battery or turned the disconnect switch on. I'm going to start the vehicle. Run it for a few seconds. Shut it off. Remove the key from the ignition, put it on the seat. If it's a smart key, you got to take it out of the cab. Then I'm going to close the door. And the interior light went off immediately. Now I'm going to come out here, read the parasitic draw. I got the disconnect switch off, on, now I'm going to turn it off. So now it's 6:06 p.m. We want to watch to see how long it takes for this draw to drop. 2.4 amps is too high, but you got to give the BCM a chance to go to sleep. I don't see anything else on in the cab or in the vehicle. I'd like to see this draw drop down to 20 or less milliamps. So again, 6:06 p.m. So you might notice that it's dark in the shop. And that's because I turned the lights out, because I was looking for a blinking LED causing this spike here. And I noticed that it has an aftermarket car starter key fob on the keychain. So I was looking for an aftermarket car starter blinking LED security light, and I don't see one. But turning the lights off, I noticed this. Look at that. That is the sun visor. Look at. Isn't that special? Well, let's see if we can get this to go off. Let's see what that does to our parasitic draw. It's off now. Well, didn't change it much. 2.2 amps. Unless it came back on. No, it didn't come back on. But that light is there. I didn't touch it. And it came back on. The little micro switch in the sun visor is tripping the light. Let's see what it is with the light on. 2.4 drops to 1.6, jumps up to 2.4. I don't know what's causing this cyclical current draw. I didn't see that before. But this light should not be staying on. Wonder if we can override it. The hinge is busted. Put a tie wrap around it. Well, let's wait another 20 minutes or so. So here's the one on the driver's side, or passenger side. It's basically the same. Now, they had the sun visors up like that, and you can see that that stays on. Sun visor should be up like this, and the light stays off. Mind you, that sun visor hinge is busted or broken or worn out or something, but if I put this up, I'm sure that's going to stay off. All right, let's wait and see. So it's now 6:44, and we still got a cyclical draw between 2.2 amps and 1.6 amps. And I know this thing has an aftermarket car starter, at least it appears to have. That looks like a car starter transmitter. And it's my experience that a lot of these aftermarket car starters are problematic at best. They lose their programming. I don't know if it works. I should ask the customer if it actually physically works. I don't see a flashing LED. Normally there's an LED up by the mirror, but there's nothing flashing, yet something is cyclically turning on and off. There's no lights on in the cab, no heater control, no radio. So I think I'm going to see if I can look under the driver's side of the dash and see if there's any fuses I can pull for that aftermarket car starter. So we're looking under the driver's side of the dash, and you can see that there is evidence of a car starter assembly of some kind. I see the DLC plug is just hanging here. I was plugged into it, but it's just hanging. Oh well. See if we got fuses in this thing. So there is the car starter, it looks like. Direct link. So I just unplugged the main ignition battery feed wires to it. I got the door open, both passenger and front doors, but I've got the latches tripped so it simulates the door being closed. Now unfortunately, because I've turned the because I've opened the door, I've reset the timer. So let's turn this disconnect switch off and see what kind of draw we have. No, that didn't do it. Well, I'm going to disconnect the rest of the wires off that thing. So I got the door completely disconnected. Or not the door, the car starter module. And as you can see, there's no change in the current draw, so I don't believe it's that. I'm going to put the scanner on it and see if I can talk to the BCM. Now when I plug the scanner in, this current's going to go up because of the DLC connection to the scanner. But I want to see if the BCM is still awake, if I can communicate with it. So you can see I plugged in my scan tool now, and we no longer get that dip in current. And it went up by about 100 milliamps. It was 2.2 amps, now it's 2.3. So let's see if the scanner will talk to the BCM. So I'm going to see if I can read data from the BCM. It says the key must be on with the engine off. Well, I got the key in my pocket. Let's look at body data. So the BCM is not asleep. Let's have a look at some of these data parameters. Brake level switch is normal. Brake shift interlock is inactive. Driver and all door lock output control. No. Why no? Driver and all door lock output control, no. Driver's door interior lock switch, no request. Brake switch off. Fuel pump relay inactive. Load shed output inactive. Passenger door, right door, left door, and driver's door closed. Let's see if there's any other data parameters that might be of assistance. Why is this BCM not going to sleep? Let's check the anti-theft. I don't have the key on. Hood ajar. That's right, this does have a hooded door, rear door, driver's rear door. Okay, so this is the alarm events. Hood ajar, second most recent alarm event, panic, door rear ajar. I do have the hood open. Geez, I never forgot about that. Let me close that hood ajar switch. Let's see if it shows it in here anyplace. Should be in here. Hood ajar switch. There it is. Ajar. Let's press the hood ajar switch. Well, I wonder if that's preventing the BCM from going to sleep. How am I going to hold that down? Oh, I know. So I put a clamp on the door, or on the hood ajar switch. I'll show you what I did. A little clamp on the switch to simulate the hood being closed. Let's see if the PCM goes to sleep. Now, mind you, it might not go to sleep while I'm talking to it with the scan tool. So I'm looking around in the BCM data. Remember, I have the key out of the ignition. Everything's shut down, and I'm still communicating with the BCM. And in the lamp and lighting data, I see this data parameter called demand lighting, and it says active. I'm not sure what that means. But everything else is inactive. Doors are all closed. There's no reason for this BCM not to go to sleep. Except for that. That's all I see. I'm not sure what demand lighting is. Tire pressure monitoring shouldn't affect it. Yeah. Strange. Now I do have the scanner hooked up to it. I'm going to try a network code scan and see what modules actually communicate. None so far. I mean, rightfully so. Passive anti-theft module is the BCM. Invalid data received from compass module. Alive, sequence counter incorrect, not updated, not current, DTC. Invalid data received from compass module. I wonder if the compass module is causing an issue. Invalid data received from compass. So the instrument panel control module is awake too. Power steering control module is awake too. Lost communication with ECM, PCM. Let's try and communicate with the power steering. Codes menu. Memory codes. Continue. Wow. So we got communication with a bunch of modules with the key off. Let's clear the codes. Exit. Let's go back and look at data. Well, definitely that passenger door wiring harness was broken, and that was causing the passenger rear door ajar message and keeping the interior lights on. And definitely the sun visors were staying on, sun visor lights. Evaluation in process, power mode quality factor. Why do I even have power in the power steering control module? Why is that active? Final terminal pull compensation valve, power mode key state undefined. Steering wheel angle, steering wheel calibration. I wonder if that's live. If I turn the steering wheel, if that changes. No, it doesn't. But something is keeping the power steering control module data alive. Let's see if any codes come back. Well, why would it even be expecting ECM communication? Of course, we're not going to have communication with the ECM and the anti-lock brakes and the restraints control modules. They're all asleep. Why aren't you asleep? And the other module that responded was the instrument panel. The front control interface as well. Battery voltage below threshold. Let's see if we got communication with that. Data. Audio data, climate control data. Continue. Starting to see. So there's no buttons depressed. I don't think it would be the fact that I got my scan tool on it. I wish I had another one of these trucks to connect to just to see what happens. Let's try and clear the codes. Remember, I don't have the key in the ignition. So the code's cleared. Let's look at the instrument panel cluster. Codes menu, memory codes, continue. Invalid data received from the compass. P0000-00. Let's clear the codes from that and see if that helps. Exit, memory codes. Data display. This is instrument cluster data with the key out of the ignition. Well, that's a large data list. The battery's getting a little weak. So we had communication with the anti-theft, which is part of the BCM, the steering column control module, the tire pressure monitor, which is part of the BCM, the body control module, which is the BCM, and the instrument panel control module, power steering control module, and the controls interface module. Well, we actually had communication with all of these modules. Radio, transceiver. So something's keeping this shit alive. I'm gonna look around some more. Well, there's nothing in the console accessory jack. Oh my God. So I've got the scanner plugged into the DLC again, and it went from 105 milliamps to 290 milliamps because of the scanner plugged in. And I'm checking to see what modules I can still communicate with. So as you see, I still got communication with the BCM, and the interesting code that I have in the BCM now is run start control, circuit short to ground or open. So that one seems like a relevant code. I'm going to write that down. B1310-14 run start circuit short to ground or open. And that's in the TPMS, but that's also the body control module. I wonder if this thing has a faulty ignition switch. Let's look up this 1310. So I looked up fault code B1310, and it says before testing ignition run circuits to the BCM, check fuse 31 in the underhood fuse box to see if it is blown or missing. Well, I just said I pulled all those fuses one at a time, so I probably generated this code. That still doesn't explain why I still have communication with the body control module. Codes menu, memory codes, continue. Now I have no communication with it. Imagine that. Let's go see what the draw went to. Okay, I'm going to use yet another code scan with the key out of this thing to see what modules will talk and what won't. Something is still drawing over 100 milliamps. But it appears the BCM is offline now. Not really. TPMS is still reporting. Body control module. I cleared the code. No, I didn't clear the code. Systems analyzed 12. How could we be analyzing 12 control modules with no key in the ignition? Something is keeping this network alive. I'm leaning towards a BCM problem, but I shudder to think. Data display. No communication. Then how are we scanning it for codes? Codes menu. Memory codes. I don't get it. It can report codes, but it can't report data. Run start control circuit 131014. I thought I cleared that. It won't let me clear it, but it lets me read it. Well, I'm going to turn the battery back on so I can clear the codes out of this thing. So I'm giving up for the night. 20 after 8. And we've got it down to 105 milliamp draw. It takes about 20 minutes for the BCM to go to sleep. I started checking voltage drops across the fuses at the BCM, but it's very difficult to get in there. I checked as many as I could. Couldn't find any significant voltage drops. The rest of them are hard to get at, so I'm going to remove them one at a time. I'm going to get a helper here to watch the current draw to see if I can find any one specific fuse. None of these fuses make a difference, and pulling one of the fuses set that code in the BCM. So we'll pick up tomorrow.